Hey everyone, my name is Penny Zenker, and it's time to reset. This podcast goes beyond just navigating change. It's about new ways of thinking about how you can approach challenges, how you can shift your mindset when needed, create some space and grace for yourself so that you can rethink, recharge, and reprioritize when and where needed. Are you ready to unlock your full potential? Thank you for hitting play and sharing this next episode with me. It's time to reset. Hello and welcome to Take Back Time. My name is Penny Zenker and I'm your host. And today I'm excited to talk about burnout because so many people are talking about burnout. So many people are burnout. Deloitte did a study and said that 1/3 of people were currently experiencing burnout symptoms. And that's who reported it. I think that we can all feel the weight of the emotional drain, the physical drains that's happening, and burnout is a real thing. As a matter of fact, the World Health Organization declared it like an actual syndrome. So it's important that we address this topic. And I'm super excited to have Cobo with me. She is going to share her story around burnout and help us to understand what she's learned in the process. So let me give you a little introduction. Danielle's clients, they know the power of developing grit, resilience, and courage necessary to thrive in complex and changing markets. And she has been a Fortune 500 senior sales manager, and she's led poor performing teams to number one. So from zero to hero here through downsizing, restructuring, acquisitions. And we know those are all really stressful times. So to lead during those stressful times is really key. And I'm going to let her tell you more about her background, but she's a rock star. She's in the middle of writing a new book, and you guys are going to love to hear from her. Hey, Danielle.
Thanks, Penny, for having me on the podcast. I'm really excited to talk about burnout prevention because, as you mentioned, there's so many of us that are going through it right now.
Yeah, I think I've bitten off a little bit more than I should have for this start of 2023. So I'm feeling that. I'm feeling the step back and needing to reset those priorities again. Tell us, why is this a topic that is near and dear to your heart?
That's a great question. I spent my career in medical sales, and for so long, I focused a lot on my career. And it took me a while to get to the point where I got married and became a mother. And there were so many times where people would ask me, when you have kids, are you going to quit your job? Or even when I was at our national sales meeting, one of the most common questions that I get is, where are your kids? Or
Doesn't that feel judgy? First of all, I just want to say, it sounds judgy to me. Like, why can't you have kids and also be a successful leader in an organization?
Absolutely. And I get that question all of the time. And I do remember at one point I was in an interview and I was interviewing for a lateral position. At the time, I was covering 5 states, leading a sales team, and I was interviewing for a lateral position, and my travel would have been reduced down to 1 state. And in the interview, this gentleman had asked me, how are you going to do this job with kids? How are you going to manage this travel? And then knowing that I was a military spouse, he said, what if your husband deploys? Are you going to be able to still do this job? All questions you cannot ask in an interview. Definitely put the company at a risk. But it really opened my eyes to this perception that some people have that you cannot have a successful career and be a parent. And it couldn't be further from the truth, because it was interesting enough. I didn't get the job, clearly.
And interesting. And you didn't want the job. Yeah. Let's just face it. You don't want to work for somebody, who's going to question you like that either.
Yeah. We know our own capabilities.
Absolutely.
I wouldn't put myself in that situation if I knew I couldn't do it. But it was very surprising to me that he knew I was covering 5 states. So I was reducing this travel quite a bit. But interesting enough, a year later, my husband did deploy. He deployed for an entire year. He went to Iraq. Our twin boys at the time, which are these thrill-seeking, high-energy boys that require a lot of kind of active
energy and attention. Yeah, It's crazy. Twins. Yep. Whoa.
And they were 2 years old at the time. And I was still leading that team, that sales team across 5 states. I had weekly overnight travel, and I was still able to do it successfully. Now, I will say that when my husband first told me that he was going to deploy, my immediate thought was, I've got to quit my job. I've got to quit. There's no way I can do this. And it took me some time to get to a point to process this. Why would I quit on myself before I even gave myself a chance to start? And so I went into this mindset of saying, I'm going to take it day by day. I'm going to try to put it out there. I'm going to build my support system that's going to help me through this 1 year, which was a temporary situation. And I'm going to take it one day at a time. And that's exactly what I did.
So how do we get to burnout? So did this situation burn you out, or is this what you learned and did to keep yourself from burning out?
I had experienced postpartum depression when I had my twins. And so I did experience burnout at that point. And what I learned through that experience of overcoming postpartum depression, that's what provided me with the tools to thrive during this 1 year temporary time. Some of the steps that I implemented was, first and foremost, I built my support system around me. I was very fortunate. I had in-laws. I had reached out to friends. There was times where I would be gone for 1 week for managers meeting, come back for a week, and then be gone for a national sales meeting. So I'd be flying my family out to help. And the first,
Oh, go ahead.
I would say the first thing I did was built my support system and learned how to ask for help. I know that there's this kind of fear that we have sometimes inside of they're too busy or I don't want to ask anybody. But I've learned that a lot of people want to help. They just don't know how. And it takes us asking for it.
Absolutely. I was hoping that you were going to get to that point, because I was going to say that it's not, why are we so reluctant to ask for help? And not just to ask for help, but to ask, not even just in a situation like that where you need someone to watch your kids, but to ask for help on an assignment that you don't clearly understand, or just to ask for clarity. It might not be help, so to speak, but it might be to ask for clarity, that you might be overwhelmed and feeling burnt out because you're not clear on what it is that you're working towards. So what do you think is the reason why people get so stuck in not asking questions and not asking for help?
I believe it's because we have this kind of two approach to it. One is we have this perception of they're already busy. I don't want to put more on their plate. And I've experienced that firsthand as a manager. There were many times where I was extremely burnt out as a manager, and I didn't want to put more on my team's plate. So I wouldn't ask for help. And it was reframing this thought process, saying, it's not a matter of delegating tasks to other people. I'm giving people on my team the opportunity to grow, to learn, to step up into leadership positions, and to help them develop their career to that next level. So if somebody on my team wanted to step into a leadership opportunity, maybe I'm going to give them the chance to lead a particular workshop at our national sales meeting. Maybe it might be, hey, we've got an event coming up particularly. Is there somebody that enjoys planning events and they want to take that on? There was one person on my team that we coined her the hype cheer person on our team. She really enjoyed bringing the team together, creating fun within the team. And so I would say, hey, you know what? We got a region meeting coming up. I'd love to have a theme, just make it fun. And she was like, I want to do it. She'd volunteer. Right. I want to do it. But so often we have this thought of, I don't want to delegate. I don't want to put more on somebody's plate. And it's reframing and thinking, how can I use this as an opportunity again to help people develop, to grow, to learn, to step into their power?
It's so true, right? So as you're giving people, it's a great reframe to see that you're really giving people an opportunity that they want to help. It also creates a greater connection. If it's personal help that you're asking for, that's a great point. I also think that we feel like when we ask questions, it shows weakness. Like when we say we're not clear about this, or we need your support, so I think that's also something to reframe, is that it has nothing to do with weakness, that the best leaders and the best individuals, the most successful individuals, they ask tons of questions. They want clarity. They want people supporting them. They want to get people's ideas. They want to be challenged. So I think that's also really important for people to keep in mind. And coming back to the point that we're talking about is that it takes all that stress that you're putting on yourself and it relieves it so that it's not necessarily the workload that is creating the burnout. It's how we feel about it, right? It's what we're holding on to, the stresses.
Yeah. And you talk about asking questions. The key to connection is curiosity. That is the key to connection. It's being curious about how other people are doing, asking the question beyond this. Oh, how was your weekend? Oh, it was great. It's, hey, what was the most exciting thing you did this past weekend? It's reframing these questions. It's anytime that you're proposed with a particular project, say, hey, can I just ask a few questions? Let me get some clarity on what this means. Ensure that I'm doing this the right way. Or maybe, hey, I'm thinking about approaching this project XYZ way. What are your thoughts on that? Any direction that you want to provide me?
Absolutely. That's a great point. So what else did you find through your experience? So that's one big thing that we unpack. Let's take another really big one and help people to see how that could support them as well in this process of avoiding burnout.
I would say the other one is giving ourselves grace. I'm one of those type of people that right before he had deployed, I bought a Peloton and I say, I'm going to work out. Okay. I can't necessarily go to the gym because it makes more sense to work out from home. And so I bought a Peloton. And I think that year I probably rode it 25 times. It really wasn't that much. But what I also realized is giving myself grace, because at that moment with the full schedule of the kids and my career and everything that was going on, that extra 30 minutes of possibly working out, I actually needed sleep more. I also believe that giving ourselves grace and taking those expectations off of what we think we should be doing and truly listening to our body and saying, what does my body need? Not what my expectations of what I think I should be doing, but listening to my body. So that would be
so important, especially if you're feeling that burnout. If you need more sleep, you're really lacking in energy, and just some movement would make a big difference. Absolutely. We need to listen to those signals. And maybe that signal is telling you to ask for support. Going back to the first point, that it's telling you do have too much on your plate and you have to reduce down and really set priorities.
Mm-hmm. And I would say there's just as much as we're saying ask for help, I also believe in asking for what you want. Because there was this big conception that was out there of, I started to notice that particular year, the previous years, I was always being asked, hey, do you want to be part of this special project? I was on advisory boards. I was always really stepping up into additional leadership opportunities because I was on that track record of getting promoted within the organization. But that year that he was gone, I started to notice that I wasn't being asked to get involved in as many special projects. And I had brought the attention to my vice president of sales. And I said, hey, this is something that I've noticed. And is it something I'm creating in my mind, or is it truly, what else can I get involved with? And it was very genuine, his response. He said, I know that you're really busy and I didn't want to add more onto your plate. And I said, I appreciate you taking that in consideration. I said, can I share something with you? He said, yeah, of course. And I said, I would love the opportunity to take on more projects. And here's why. Every night, my kids go to bed at 7:30. And 7 days a week, I sit at home by myself. There's only so much Netflix I can binge. In fact, sometimes it gets quite depressing when I see that, are you still watching? I much rather use some of this time to also have a blend of those times of relaxation, but also get really fired up in using this time to develop my career. So I actually want the special projects. So in the same sense, as much as you're asking for help, also ask for what you want.
Absolutely. And for those who are listening, who are on the other side of this, right, is not to make assumptions. Those assumptions you might be thinking you're doing someone a favor, but you're not. So we have to, goes back to asking questions instead of assuming, ask more questions. That's important. That's a great point, so that people really see that you know what you need and what you want. But sometimes I do think that sometimes people don't see it. What have you seen? Maybe if it hasn't been for yourself, but seeing with people that you're working with or clients or whomever, what is it that helps people to see that they are actually in burnout and they're not recognizing that they're spot on like a railroad train about to hit something?
Yeah, I distinctly remember this time there was somebody on my team when I was out. I was on the plane to go meet up with her. We're going to be going in the field and meeting some of our customers. And she sent me this text and she said, I can't do this anymore. And I responded back quickly, what's going on? And she says, I can't do this anymore. And so I said, okay, cancel all of our appointments. As soon as I land, let's go to lunch. Let's talk this through. What can I do to support you? So she picks me up from the airport. We go to a restaurant and she's in absolute tears. She's completely burnt out, exhausted. She was newer to her role and she was trying to navigate through how to be successful. She had a large geography. And so she's doing a lot of overnights while also she was a mom of two as well. And we just sat down and I said, okay, let's look at your calendar. First and foremost, like you are in overwhelm. And let's talk through and I will support you in either way. If this is not the right job for you and you're unhappy, then I will help you find a position that you will be happy in because ultimately that's what I care about the most. Let's also take a different approach and let's look at what's causing the burnout and let's look at what that is and maybe some changes we can make. And after our conversation, you can decide which direction you want to go. So I said, what's most important to you? Like your core values, what's most important to you? And she said, her family. Right. And I said, okay, your family. What is number one thing that you enjoy? And so what was important to her was she wanted to be able to take her kids to school. She wanted to be able to be there for sports. And I said, okay, let's look at your schedule and let's prioritize that first. And then the second one was she wanted to take care of her health. She had just been diagnosed with an autoimmune disease. And I said, okay, what is important to you? And to her, it was, I want to be able to go on a morning walk. I said, okay, let's prioritize that. Instead of starting your day at 8 a.m., can we start your day at 9 p.m.? And then so we first started with prioritizing what was the most important to her. In order to prevent burnout, you got to take care of yourself first, your family second, then your customers and sales.
And there is time for all of that, right? It's just that I think that we have to put ourselves last. And when you organize it in the way that you're saying, you do customers first, then family, then you, it's the wrong order. So what I'm hearing from you is to change that order. Let that sequence be clearly to identify the things that you need to feel good, to feel grounded, to feel connected with your family. And then the customers, you work that schedule around everything else that you need, right?
100%. Because if I am burnt out, if we are burnt out, what happens is the residual effect to that is we are irritable. We lack focus, clarity. We're not at our optimal peak performance. We're not at our best. And so what's the result of that? If I am burnt out and I become irritable, then I'm going to be taking that out on my kids. If I lack focus because I'm not getting enough sleep and I'm not taking care of myself, then I'm going to have a hard time focusing and delivering on the deliverables that I have for my customers. You have to take care of yourself first in order to be the best parent, the best friend, the best employee. It's got to start with taking care of yourself first.
Absolutely. We've talked about a number of different things. So I just want to keep in mind that people's attention span these days are not really less than a goldfish. We want to keep this short. So let me ask you, what didn't we cover that you think is a really important part for people to consider if they feel like they might be burning out and we didn't cover it, or they have someone close to them who they think is burning out?
So I would say really be in tuned with your body. Your body is a great communicator. It's got a lot of signs that are going to let you know if you're burnt out. So one of the exercises that I take myself through is I stand in front of the mirror and I start at the very top and work my way down every week. And I look at, okay, is my hair dull? Is it thinning? Is it leafless? That could be a sign of burnout. Is my face dehydrated? Am I breaking out? And do I have acne? That can be a sign that I'm burning out. Is it that my stomach is then it's your shoulders. Are your shoulders constantly raised? Do you have tensions? Are you getting migraines? That can be a sign of burnout. Your stomach's in knots all the time. You're lethargic. You're nauseous. That can be a sign of burnout. So our body is a great way of communicating when we're burning out. We get to take a pause each week and check in with ourselves. I call it the weekly body scan. It's really checking in with yourself.
Awesome. I love that. I haven't really heard that from burnout perspective to talk about that. So that's a great way. Our body gives us these signals, and we also can check in with our emotions and identify, are we feeling like frustrated a large portion of time, or what's the changes in our mood? How are we showing up? Are we being our best self? Those are some great tips. I know you're working on a book and you've got lots of good stuff going on. Where can people find out more about you?
People can find out more about me on my podcast, Dream Job with Danielle Cobo. I have a seed that got stuck in my throat. My podcast, Dream Job with Danielle Cobo, and then on LinkedIn. So Danielle Cobo.
Fantastic. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you.
And thank you all for being here. This is an important topic, and Danielle's brought up some really great points about in her own story and the story of people that she worked with, of just understanding how you can look for the signals and how you can ask for support. That's in ahead of time, right? Don't wait until it gets to a point where you find yourself on the edge of burnout. Be in preparation, knowing that there's a lot that's vying for your attention, that there's a lot of things pulling your energy in different directions. So this is an area where you really want to be forward thinking and planning ahead so that you can avoid those things and avoid those symptoms of burnout that are only going to frustrate you and also make you less productive and less happy in what's going on in your life. So that's it. Thank you guys for being here. Put one thing into practice, one thing, and it's going to help you to take back time. That's the name of the podcast. And my name is Penny Zenker, and we'll see you in the next episode. Hey, thank you for spending this time with me. It really means a lot. If you're feeling a little off, distracted, overwhelmed, stuck, or just out of sync, remember that's your signal to reset. And that's all it takes, just recognizing one reset moment at a time. So stay tuned for more tips, tools, tricks, stories, strategies, all here on Time to Reset. We'll see you in the next episode.